Stats in Fire Emblem have always been interesting. As a rule of thumb, the best stats are typically based on damage done and damage taken. Usually they're considered speed, strength and magic, and defense because, well, if I don't take a lot of damage and the enemy gets one-rounded, well, you're doing pretty good. Skill and luck tend to be neglected as well since they aren't the ones killing the enemies. But are they? No, they're not. They're still really bad. But if you play some specific games or use some units in these games that have, let's say, problems with consistency, you tend to get really frustrated. Or maybe it's just my bad luck. In this video, I aim to explain that reliability is really good, and you should probably value or at least think of it more. As an example, hit is a stat that is calculated in many different ways. But most often, the game has your weapon hit, skill or dex, a little bit of luck sometimes, weapon triangle advantage or disadvantage, weapon rank bonuses, supports, adjacency bonuses, skills, forges, engravings, personal skill. Point is, a lot of things can make you hit a lot more often. Why does this matter? Well, if you miss too many times, you die. Or at least are put at a supreme disadvantage in the coming terms. If you played Fire Emblem enough, you probably know that if something can happen, it most likely will. Unless you're lucky. Not that I know what that's like. If you go through enough combats with 80% hits, you're eventually going to miss, and if the game is harder, it will most likely punish you severely for it. This goes for most things I'm referring to when I talk about reliability. Since they are all percentages, I think it's important to bring up the fact that oftentimes your brain just kind of basically lies to you about the expected outcome of something. Or in layman's terms, the feeble human mind cannot comprehend probability. Now typically, you might look at percentages above like 80% and think, yeah, that's pretty likely to happen. Which, while true, there's still a pretty valid chance of that 80% not happening. For example, let's say over 10 rounds of combat, your hit chance is exactly 80%. Simply do some math and oh wow, that's only a 10.7% chance to happen. That's about a 90% chance that you'll miss at least one of these hits. Not even considering you missing more than one. If I did the math wrong, please tell me, but like, I just messed up my script. If I did the math wrong, please tell me, but like, nicely, it'd be really embarrassing if I got that wrong. Anyways, once again, this is assuming quite a bit, and most scenarios won't be this perfect. In the same way is why you see some be hesitant to attack at risk of a 1 to 5% crit over multiple rounds of combat. The chance that something like that actually hits is much higher than you may imagine. Enough math, let's use an example of a game that really encourages you to up your reliability, and absolutely incredible games. I mean, I'm not wrong, but like, Fates. In Fates, the standard and basically objectively best, for most purposes, weapons are bronze or brass weapons. They have the highest hit, which, if you know what I'm talking about, you'd probably know why that's good. Although, if you use the forge well, bronze weapons can basically reach the might of the higher tiers anyways, and they don't have the downsides of steel or silver. But that's a discussion for a different day. Even without that, I'd still say bronze weapons are insanely valuable because all of their effects benefit reliability. Like I said, they always have the highest hit. They also give 10 crit dodge, so you take 3 times more damage less often, which is obviously good. Slightly controversial, but they also can't crit or proc offensive skills. Doing more damage sounds good, but in a game like Fates, if you need to depend on them, you're probably doing something wrong. Optimally, not fun-wise, it's pretty fun to do crit builds. Randomly doing more damage is honestly just as bad as missing because at least if you miss, you don't let yourself get attacked by more units. The exception to this is Soul, which is basically always good, but for most scenarios, bronze weapons are just better. Selling most of the steel weapons you get to get more bronze forges is basically the best way to go about your weapon usages. If it was just that, it'd just be a complaint of Fate's weapon system, but even in other games, the statement largely holds true. In Engage, there are no engravings that reduce hit, but besides Veronica's, but hers sucks and it's DLC. And it's simply because if there were, nobody would ever use them, regardless of the benefit. Wait a second. Surge Domes. Infinite Hit is, like, kinda a lot. But, I forgot about them for making this entire script. And they probably would have been a better example. Ah! Para concluir... Oh, wait, wrong language. To conclude, reliability is important. Will I go by my own advice? Well, obviously not. I mean, it's really funny to risk everything on coin flips or even lower hits. I mean, I'm even doing a run where I can only use the least accurate weapon type and it's going... Are you kidding me? It's the first turn! It's certainly going. But do as I say, not as I do, as hitting more so you don't die is pretty cool. I hope that... What did I just say? That's probably a good video to this ending, right? Subscribe. Like, I don't know, man. Have a nice day. That's my customer service voice. Oh my...